Welcome, welcome, welcome. I would like to welcome you to another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And if you do me a favor, please subscribe to wherever you're listening. Please subscribe to wherever you're watching. It definitely means a lot to me. When you're trading for a player, or when a player becomes available for a trade, there are certain things you have to ask yourself before making said trade, in my opinion. One, what is the value of said player? There are some really big name players in the league, and it's not just basketball. We're talking about basketball right now, but it's in general. There's some really big players in every league, but you have to ask yourself, one, what is the value of that player? Two, does the value or does the price tag that they're asking for justify you paying that price tag? That doesn't mean that the price tag is too high. That doesn't mean the price tag's too low. That means, are you willing to pay it? And the thing about value is this. Value is different for everybody. One player might be valued on one team more than another team. One player might bring less value here, but bring more value there. Value is not just a set thing. You have to understand what the value is for you. And what do I mean by this? What am I starting off my show talking about? So it looks like reports have come out saying that at first reports were coming out because the Utah Jazz traded Rudy Gobert. They were saying that Donovan Mitchell at this point is not going to be traded, not going to request a trade. They don't want to. They're going to try to move on with Donovan Mitchell. But of recent days, and now it looks like he is available for trade. And one of the teams that that has been rumored to get Donovan Mitchell is the New York Knicks. Again, when you make a trade, when a trade is proposed, when you're trying to make a trade, you have to figure out what is the value of the person that you're making a trade for. What do I mean by that? I'll give you a great example. We've been talking about Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, right? We've been talking about Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving since free agency started, or since the offseason started, since the offseason started, stories of Kyrie, and it's been a lot. But let's just look at Kyrie. Kyrie Irving's value is different for multiple teams. And at this point, in my opinion, Kyrie Irving's value is highest for two teams, Brooklyn in LA. Actually, let me flip that around. LA first, then Brooklyn. Kyrie's value isn't going to be the same for Golden State than it is for LA. That doesn't mean Kyrie's not a good player. It just means that the Lakers value him more than Golden State would, than Portland would, than teams that maybe have a top-tier point guard. Let's get back to this Donovan Mitchell, New York Knicks situation. Well, let's first, why? Let's first talk about why Utah is deciding to let go or is open to letting go of their young star player in Donovan Mitchell. When you're going in a rebuild, when a team's going in a rebuild, they usually want to go into a full rebuild. And what I mean by that is, yes, you want to have some good players. Yes, you want to have some talent on the roster, but you don't want to be too good. I'm not a fan of rebuilds. I'm not a fan of tanking. I'm not a fan of any of that, but that's what teams do. You see that with OKC. OKC, you realize you lost Kevin Durant. You realize you lost Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Carmelo Anthony. So you went to full rebuild. You have some good young pieces. You have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You have Josh Giddey. Now you have Chet Holmgren. You have all the picks in the world. That is a rebuild gone right. Not saying that they're still in rebuild process to me, but they're getting better year after year after year. Of course, rebuilds, you can rebuild solely through the draft. You can rebuild through trades. When you're rebuilding, you want to go full throttle. You're going straight at it. And you saw the signs. I mean, shouts out to the meme going around the world at this point with Brian Windhorst. He saw it. You saw the makings of a full rebuild in Utah when they gave away Royce O'Neal, which was one of their most important players. Joe Ingles isn't there anymore, which has been one of their most important players. When you trade a Rudy Gobert, now, yes, you got a big package for him, but when you trade Rudy Gobert and now you have Donovan Mitchell. And of course, I think there's this dude. They want to. Utah wants to put themselves in position to possibly get the number 1 overall pick because there's a kid coming from overseas. I think his name is Victor. I can't really say his last name, but they're saying he could be the next. When you see a player, his frame, they're always gonna say, "Oh, that could be the next Kevin Durant." I don't know about that. Kevin Durant is one of one to me, but. Utah wants to put themselves in position to at least have a shot to get that player. So Donovan Mitchell. In my opinion, Jalen Hunter, the host of the Unpopular Podcast, in my opinion, there are tiers of stars. And we've talked about this several times. Of course, the superstar and the star. The difference between, here's the thing though. I know that there's a difference between a superstar and a star. Everyone knows the difference. And one thing that I do want to I know this is going to sound a little weird, but a star is a star wherever he goes. A superstar is a star wherever he goes. You can put Steph Curry on Cleveland. No, let me not disrespect Cleveland. You can put Steph Curry on Sacramento Kings. He's still going to be a superstar. No, he may not garnish the same amount of wins and accolades that he has and will do in Golden State. But you put LeBron James on Detroit. He's still a superstar. You put Giannis on Washington. He's still a superstar. Their value doesn't change. Now, yes, the amount of wins that they get, the amount of success that they get will change or could change. I don't think LeBron, if LeBron James was drafted to, I don't know, Washington, I don't think that he would be, I think he'll still be great, but I don't know if he'll have 4 championships. If Steph Curry was drafted to the New York Knicks, I don't think he would have 4 championships. That's just me. When you put a star somewhere or put a superstar somewhere, their value does not change. Yes, again, the winning could change, the accolades could change, but their value doesn't change. Giannis is still going to be Giannis. And that's the difference, and one of the biggest differences between a star and a superstar is if you put a star somewhere, their value changes. So what do I mean by that? Talking about Donovan Mitchell, let's stay on Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is not a superstar in my opinion. Donovan Mitchell is not a person where you can place him anywhere and you can win. I'm not saying win at all, but I don't think that Donovan Mitchell has 10, 15 wins attached to his name like a superstar would. I don't think some superstars, of course, have more than 10, 15. Like LeBron James, in my opinion, is about, that's an easy 30 wins. Giannis, maybe an easy 45 wins. Donovan Mitchell doesn't have, 20, 30 wins attached to his name. While he is a star and he is a good player, I don't think he has, 20, 25 wins attached to his name if he goes anywhere else. Same thing for Bradley Beal. Hell, I'm a Wizards fan because I'm from the Maryland, D.C. area. Bradley Beal, you place him on other teams, his value will change. It doesn't mean he's not a star. It doesn't mean Donovan Mitchell's not a star. But you put them on different teams, their value changes. For instance, Bradley Beal's been on Washington for, a while now. He's very valuable for Washington, but his value hasn't matriculated into wins as much, as in playoff wins or playoff appearances like that. Last time we were in the playoffs, I believe, was 2000 and when we had Russell Westbrook. Was 2019, 20? So his value might not be as prevalent in Washington when we talk about winning than it would be in Miami. Imagine Bradley Beal in Miami alongside, Bam Adebayo, alongside Jimmy Butler. His value would skyrocket. Or his value maybe for the Lakers. The Lakers need a shooting, a 3-and-D player. I don't know about D, but need more of a shooter, somebody else that can create a shot for themselves. Enter Bradley Beal, bada bing, bada boom. So I feel like I'm beating around the bush at this point. Donovan Mitchell, and it looks like the talks have kind of ceased, but Donovan Mitchell was it was rumored, and it looks like from reports they were close to getting. He was close. Utah and the Knicks were close to having a deal that would involve the Knicks getting Donovan Mitchell. I think they would have to give up like Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly. I know there's another player and like 6 first-round picks. And that is why I'm starting this episode off with Donovan Mitchell. One thing that we have to understand. Yes, I understand value is different for different people, different for different teams. But if you're New York, why make that trade? Now, of course, I don't know if they're going to do it. It looks like the Knicks declined, but why would you make that trade? Because it goes back to value. I would understand if it's Kevin Durant. If it's Kevin Durant, then I get that. Now, those 6 draft picks are steep, but I get that if it's Kevin Durant. Also, if you didn't just get Jalen Brunson, I would understand as well. But why make that pick for Donovan Mitchell? And I understand, the cachet, and New York has been hungry for a star. They thought they had one in last time they had a true star, I think, was Melo. They thought they had one in Julius Randle. It kind of seems like New York is ready to get up off him. They thought they had one with Kemba Walker. That didn't last too long. It would be interesting pairing Donovan Mitchell with Jalen Brunson. I would put Donovan Mitchell more at the 2 because, Jalen Brunson, size, both of them size. It would be a pretty small backcourt, but you have the dynamic player in Donovan Mitchell. So I understand, why you would make the trade, but they're asking for a lot. They're saying that Donovan Mitchell is likely to garnish a trade that could involve 6 first-round picks. Look, I love Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is a very exciting player, but 6 first-round picks. You see, one thing that I do want to emphasize, just because one team does something doesn't mean the market has changed. If a poor franchise, a well-known bad franchise makes a bad move, does that mean the market has changed? Because the Timberwolves trade all those freaking draft picks and all those assets for Rudy Gobert after they gave Karl Anthony Towns a max deal, does that mean that now every star has to go for what Rudy Gobert? No, just because a poor and a lack of a better term, a dumb organization does a dumb move doesn't mean that the landscape has changed. Doesn't mean that the trade market has changed. Why are we letting poor franchises set the market? You wanna know something? I'm gonna give a prediction right now. I predict that if I'll predict this. The Minnesota Timberwolves will be no better next year than they were this year. They can make the play-in tournament. They can even make the first round. But I promise you, the Minnesota Timberwolves will not be better than they were last year. So with all those draft picks they gave up, with all those assets, and to get Rudy Gobert, just because they made a poor decision, in my opinion, doesn't mean that the market has changed. Donovan Mitchell should never garnish 6 first-round picks. Donovan Mitchell is a great player, but he is not a superstar. I understand a superstar. If Milwaukee calls Washington right now and says, "Hey, you give us Rui Hachimura and 6 first-round picks, and Danny, you give us that. We'll give you Giannis." Yo, you couldn't finish Giannis's last name before I signed the paperwork. If you're the Knicks and they say, if Golden State calls and says, "Yo, you give us Julius Randle, you give us Emmanuel Quickly, and you give us 6 first round picks, and we'll give you Steph." If I'm the Knicks, yo, you don't even have to say what do you think. I'm already faxing you the signed document. Donovan Mitchell doesn't garner that. And this is no disrespect to Donovan Mitchell, but this is truth. I put Donovan Mitchell in the same category that I put Bradley Beal. Incredible players. Stars. They are stars. Bradley Beal is a star. Donovan Mitchell is a star. But if Donovan Mitchell is your number one, if Bradley Beal is your number one, if a player like De'Aaron Fox is your number one, if a player like Devin Booker is your number one, I don't think that you could win a championship. And that doesn't mean that they're not great. That doesn't mean that they're not stars. But Bradley Beal is not taking a team to the championship, and he's your number one. Donovan Mitchell's not doing that. So why give up 6 first-round picks for that? That's crazy to me. And again, the question is, what is Donovan Mitchell's value? And because I put him in the star category, his value changes for different teams. I can see Donovan Mitchell. Imagine if, not saying this is going to happen, but imagine if Brooklyn traded Kyrie for Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan Mitchell's value would skyrocket playing alongside the possibility of playing alongside Kevin Durant. Imagine Donovan Mitchell going to Boston. I sat here and said, "Yo, they need a pure point guard." Now, I don't know if and it's funny. I think that Malcolm Brogdon's value for Boston is more than Donovan Mitchell's. Not saying, of course, Donovan Mitchell is a far better player, in my opinion, than Malcolm Brogdon. But when you look at the team needs of Boston, Mitchell does not fit the needs as much as Malcolm Brogdon. It doesn't mean Mitchell's not better. It just means your value changes. There should be no way in heaven or hell I'm giving up 6 first-round picks and just getting Donovan Mitchell, especially if my team is not in any type of way close to winning a championship. That's crazy if you ask me, but people let poorly run and historically bad franchises set and dictate the market, which is crazy to me. Anybody that lets Minnesota Timberwolves dictate the market just because they, in my opinion, made a stupid trade for Rudy Gobert is crazy. Donovan Mitchell should never garner 6 first-round picks. I don't care if he is the missing piece to a championship. 6 first-round picks? Come on now. I will say this. I do think that Donovan Mitchell will end up getting traded somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be in the beginning of the season. I don't know if it's going to be soon. I don't know if it's going to be before the trade deadline. But Utah is in a rebuild. That is clear. You don't want, as a fan, I'm not a fan of rebuilds, but you don't want a good player, a player as good as Donovan Mitchell on your team because you're probably going to win too many games. That's one, and I'm not saying he's uber talented at this point. That's one of the biggest reasons why the Rockets told John Wall to go home, because they knew if John Wall was your starting point guard, it'll take time away from the young stars, and they can possibly win too many games to get them out of the number one overall pick sweepstakes, and of course they ended up number 3. So, but I am interested to see where Donovan Mitchell goes. Again, it's the how much is his value and how much would his value be to your team. That should garnish what you do for a draft or what you do in a trade, in my opinion. So, also moving forward, let's have a serious conversation about. I say that a lot. I say that a lot. Like I say, we're gonna have a serious conversation, and it's usually never that serious. But let's talk about Deandre Ayton and the Suns. So the Indiana Pacers offered a max contract. I think it was like worth $133 million to Deandre Ayton, which then gives the Suns, since they have his rights, gives the Suns 2 days to match. They matched that jump within like an hour. So now Deandre Ayton will stay, at least for the time being, with the Suns. I don't think that he can do a sign and trade till like January. Here's where you have to, as an organization, man, you have to prevent. Sometimes the best thing you can do, if you're able to, is to prevent poor situations. And what do I mean by that? I don't know if you guys remember, but maybe a year ago, Deandre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns began contract negotiation talks. He felt that he outplayed his rookie contract, which everyone would believe he would, and he also understood the value that he has for for Phoenix. So he won a new contract. They started negotiating a contract. It didn't work out. I said all that to say the Suns could have prevented all this. Now, you can't really move Deandre Ayton until, you can't move DeAndre until January 6th. And the Suns put themselves into a position where they had to do something. And that's one thing, especially for an organization, that you don't want to do. You don't want to be put in a position where you have to do something, especially when it's something that you didn't have to do if you would have planned properly before. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. You see, the Suns do not think that Deandre Ayton is worth a max contract, let alone $133 million. The Suns do not think that. You know where they don't think that? Because they could have given him a max contract a year before. The reason why they didn't is because they did not think he was worth that. So you're asking yourself, why did they end up matching the offer for the Pacers? Because while you don't think Deandre Ayton is worth a max contract, you can't lose him for nothing. Deandre Ayton is still a very, very good center in the league. Deandre Ayton was the starting center for a 64-win team. Now, yes, they ultimately didn't end up winning the championship, and they got bounced by Dallas, but he was the center of a 64-win team. And the thing that is head scratching to me that I don't understand. Now, again, I know I'm not in the front office, so I don't understand how this goes, but we all saw this coming. We knew, you're gonna want to get this deal done now for Deandre Ayton, because the last thing that you want him to do is ball out last year, which he did, or ball out this year, which he did. So then now you can hit the market. And if he balls out, there's going to be a team, i.e. the Indiana Pacers, that's going to offer him the same amount of money. Actually, I'm sorry, more money than you were willing to give him, because they could have done a deal last year and it would not be as much as $133 million. But now that the Pacers offer that and you match it, am I saying that Deandre Ayton is worth $133 million? I don't believe so. But it goes back to value, which we were just talking about with Donovan Mitchell. Deandre Ayton, again, I don't think people understand the importance or the significance. You are the starting point guard or starting center, for a team that won 64 games in the regular season. Not too many teams win 64 games in the regular season, and your numbers improve year to year. The Suns put themselves in this predicament. So now this kind of takes you out the sweepstakes for Kevin Durant, unless his trade request is still prevalent in January, which I doubt. It's just the Suns did something that people saw coming. People were saying just a year ago, yo, you want to get this done. Not to mention Deandre Ayton, because you didn't get it done, he was a scorned player. He was a player that felt disrespected by the organization. So of course, the first time a team is going to offer him a max, like, he's going to take it. And then of course it's up to the Suns to match it. And again, he would have been cheaper a year ago if you would have just made the. What the Suns banked on was DeAndre Ayton wouldn't have the season that he had this year. Also, the market for him wouldn't be as big as they thought it would. So now you look, the two things that they hoped for was the one thing that was the two things that did not happen. DeAndre Ayton played better than projected, and a team like the Pacers offered him a max contract. And you know what's funny? Organizations are smart. Some organizations are smart. How much you want to bet? The Pacers knew they weren't going to get DeAndre Ayton. And they knew, just like everyone in the NBA world knew, the Suns had to match whatever they offered. Like, think about that. Why would the Pacers offer him a max contract when you're trying to unload and trying to get off of Miles Turner, who's a pretty good center, but he's still on your team? That means the Pacers knew they weren't getting DeAndre Ayton, but they were just going to be the team to offer him the max. It was going to be a team to do it. Why didn't it be the Pacers? So now what this does, unless they do a sign and trade in January, this completely, at least for right now, takes the Suns out of the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. You know a team that could, now I'm not saying it will happen, but you know a team that could afford Kevin Durant? The Indiana Pacers. Again, these teams are trying to play chess, not checkers. And what the Suns did was they bet on a lot of things that they should not have bet on. And they're forced to pay, because you don't want to lose him for nothing. You cannot lose him for nothing. That would be catastrophic if you lose DeAndre Ayton for nothing. So what you have to do is you have to acquiesce. You didn't have to if you would have just been smarter a year ago when everyone's saying, hey, yo, you might want to pay him now because the money's about to go up. You want to pay him now. They didn't do it. Bada bing, bada boom. Now he's with the Pacers. Or now he's a max contract. So, and this is after giving Devin Booker, I think, upwards of like $200 million. Actually, more than that. The Suns, the Suns, the Suns. And you know what's funny, man? As we sit here today, I don't think the Suns are anywhere closer to winning a championship. I think that I'm not going to say their window's closed because they have a good, a young team, younger team. But again, your best players, your three best players, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Deandre Ayton. Chris Paul's getting older. I don't think Devin Booker is a number one, even though shouts out for him for being on one of the covers of 2K. But I don't think he's a number one. Then now you have a max player in DeAndre Ayton. I think if you have a max, unless you're a poor franchise, i.e. the Wizards, if you have a max player on your team, like a player that is making the max amount of money, I would hope that your team is in contention to at least make some noise in the playoffs, let alone make the playoffs. And while, yes, I do think the Suns will make the playoffs, do think the Suns are in contention to make some noise in the playoffs, I don't think they're anywhere closer to winning a championship. I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. But I don't think they are. And now you have pretty much two max players on your team. And nowhere closer to getting Kevin Durant, which, by the way, the Suns was his number one destination. Which could have happened if you would. Now, again, I know you don't know a year, hindsight's 2020. I know you don't know that Kevin Durant is going to ask for a trade. I know you don't know that. But you do know that DeAndre Ayton was going to be more expensive this year than he was last year. You do know that you don't want to give him the max contract, which, by the way, the max deal would have been less last year than it was this year. And you would have had a happy DeAndre Ayton, which could have fared better in the playoffs. Just saying. But let's move forward. So last episode, I did my top 10 quarterbacks. And I thought to myself, why don't we make this a top 10 podcast until the season starts? Not saying that I will do top 10s in every day, but last episode I did top 10 quarterbacks. This episode I'm going to do top 10 wide receivers. And, moving forward, I'm going to do top 10. Did I say wide receivers? This episode, I'm going to do top 10 running backs. I apologize. Next episode will be wide receivers probably, then tight ends, then defense. Yeah, we're gearing up for the NFL season. It's coming soon. So why don't I start? I started the last episode with quarterbacks. Now I'm going to start with running backs. And this list was actually quite easy in my opinion. Now, of course, this is my top 10. This is my opinion. If you don't agree, you can always leave it in the comments. But there are some pretty good running backs that didn't make the list. And I have, I kind of felt bad when damn, Derek Carr didn't make my top 10 quarterbacks list, but he at least has the stats to be in my top 10. There's a lot. Antonio Gibson, he was really good. He didn't make my top 10 list. Ezekiel Elliott didn't make my top 10 list. I think he's kind of been on the decline the last few years. But this list was fairly easy in my opinion. Let's start. Number 10, I have Austin Eckler. Now, Austin Eckler is not a big name running back. We know this. We also know, I kind of feel like when we look at the weapons that the Chargers have, Mike Williams, of course you have the quarterback in Justin Herbert. You have Keenan Allen. We have some big names now on the defensive side when you have Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Darwin James. It is a star-studded team at this point. And I think Austin Eckler's name gets forgotten a lot of times when we talk about some of the weapons that they have. Austin Eckler was so good. They allowed Melvin Gordon, who was a pretty good piece for this team, to walk. I think that one of the key pieces to this Chargers team is Austin Eckler. The last thing you want to do, even though Justin Herbert is incredible, you don't want it to be you don't want it to be solely a passing offense. You want to be able to have some balance. And I think because you have Austin Eckler, who is one of the best running backs in the league, in my opinion, one of the most underrated, I think that they can do that, especially with some of the improvements that they made to the offensive line. So at number 10, I have Austin Eckler. At number 9, I have Naji Harris. People forget. People look at the numbers and be like, well, of course Naji Harris is a top 10 running back in the league. People forget. Last year, Naji Harris was running behind one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive line in the league. You couple that with a team that wanted to be a running team, but because it was Big Ben's last year, because the offensive line was so bad, they weren't able to really succeed in that. But with all that, Naji Harris still put up top 10 running back numbers. We knew Naji Harris was going to be good coming out of Alabama. I just didn't think he was going to be this good this fast. You never really know. Yes, you do. So here's the thing. Alabama is good at three things. Alabama is good as far as Alabama's not that good when it comes to quarterbacks. Now, I know you talk about Tua Tagovailoa, you talk about Jalen Hurts, you talk about Mac Jones. Outside of that, there hasn't been too many successful Alabama quarterbacks. The three positions that has been an abundance of success in the league is running back, wide receiver, and defense. And Najee Harris fits that. Najee Harris, in my opinion, it's scary to see and to think what he will be once the Pittsburgh Steelers gets their offensive line right, which it looks like they're trying to do, and it looks like they did this offseason. Now, of course, we have to wait to see, but I'm excited to see what he looks like with a more competent offensive line. But Najee Harris, even with a bad O-line, put up some incredible numbers last year. So I have him at number 9. At number 8, I have Joe Mixon. Now, I kind of feel the same way about Joe Mixon that I do Austin Eckler. When you're playing on a team that has Jamar Chase, that has T. Higgins, that has Tyler Boyd, that has Joe Burrow throwing in the ball, you tend to forget about the running back. And Joe Mixon was a huge part of that team, especially last year in their run to the Super Bowl. Now, of course, they ultimately didn't win it, but Joe Mixon was a huge piece. He was pretty much the stabilizer when Joe Burrow wasn't, like when they needed a big first down on the ground, he was able to get it for him. He's able to catch the ball in the backfield. Joe Mixon was great. Now, the only question that I have with Joe Mixon is, of course, durability. He's still a smaller back. And when I look at my list, do I put him over? The reason why I put him over Najee Harris is because, of course, Najee Harris was a rookie last year. I do want to see what happens year 2. And Austin Eckler, he made it further in the playoffs than Austin Eckler. Now, I know that's not all Austin Eckler's fault, but I did want to reward Joe Mixon for at least making it to the Super Bowl and being a very important part of the Cincinnati Bengals offense. So I have Joe Mixon at 8. I'm sorry. And not to mention the fact that Joe Mixon, whether all the big names that Cincinnati has, Joe Mixon is a huge part of the offense, just like Austin Eckler. So I have Joe Mixon at number 8. Number 7, I have Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is going to be huge this year. Now, I know that he's put up very good numbers and he's one of the best running backs in the league, but he's going to be needed more than he's ever needed to be needed in Green Bay, and that is because Green Bay lost Davante Adams. Now, I understand that you have Aaron Rodgers. I also understand that you have Alan Lazard, that you have that's about it. They don't really have a legit number 1 receiver. And you're okay with that because you have Aaron Rodgers, but one thing that this offense does not want is to be so Aaron Rodgers centric. And what do I mean by that? Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best. I mean, if you listen to my episode my last episode, I said he was the best quarterback in the league. But you lose arguably the best wide receiver in the league, and of course, now you're throwing to people that may not be as, or definitely definitely not as reliable as Devontae Adams. So you don't want the pressure, and you don't want the pressure to be on Aaron Rodgers, even though he can do it, and we've seen him do it. You don't want it to be a steady thing where he has to save us. And that is where Aaron Jones comes in. Aaron Jones is one of the most elusive backs in the league, and I think that his workload is going to increase exponentially next year. And I think that he's been great so far, and I think he's going to be great now. So I have Aaron Jones at 7. Number 6, I have Dalvin Cook. The knock on Dalvin Cook is his injury history is like he gets injured a lot. But when he is on the field, he is one of the best running backs in the league. Also, even now it's not just on him, but even how good he is, that doesn't ultimately result in wins for the Vikings. Now, of course, you can also look at the defense hasn't been the greatest, even though it's improved over the years. And, of course, you look at the quarterback position, that may not be the greatest either, but Dalvin Cook and Justin Jeffries have been, and maybe Adam Thielen, have been the constants for the constant thing that you can rely on for the Minnesota Vikings. And I think that if he is healthy, if he is completely healthy, he is you can arguably say he's top 3-4 running backs in the league. And I'm not gonna say his inability, but he's not the best at catching the ball, in the outfield, and I do think that kind of hinders him from being, a top tier running back in my, even though I have him at 6. So I have Dalvin Cook at 6. At number 5, I have Alvin Kamara. If you want, Alvin Kamara is everything that you'd want in a back, outside of maybe the strength. What I mean by that is Alvin Kamara is I'm gonna say he's the most elusive running back in the league. His value to New Orleans is second to none, and his ability to catch the ball, his ability to yards after catch, his ability to elude defenders and be elusive is second to none for this team. Alvin Kamara, the reason why I have him 5th is because I just think that when healthy, there's 4 players better than him. But Alvin Kamara has been great, and I think that one of the biggest reasons why the Saints feel good about going into this year with Jameis Winston as their quarterback full time at this point is because you have Alvin Kamara. You're going to see what happens, with the wide receiver core now, Chris Olave and Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas. And a lot of that, the biggest name that I said out of all of that was Alvin Kamara. So I have Alvin Kamara at number 5. Now, it's not fair. I'm going to be the first one to say it's not fair. But number 4, I have Christian McCaffrey. It's not fair because now we're leaning on to if healthy. That's kind of what I said about Dalvin Cook, but it's definitely true for Christian McCaffrey. It's not fair to the people under him because Alvin Kamara has been more healthy. So is Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Naji Harris. And it's also not fair to Christian McCaffrey because Christian McCaffrey can very well be number 1. It's just if healthy. Christian McCaffrey has struggled mightily with staying on the field these last few years. But when he is on the field, he's a 2,000-yard rusher. It's Christian McCaffrey. He was, when healthy, I believe he was a MVP finalist. That's just how, that's how good he is. Now, again, he needs to stay on the field if he's able to stay on the field, that would increase his chances of being number one exponentially. But he has not been able to stay on the field like that, and that's really why he's number 4 and could drop. And again, it's disrespectful to Alvin Kamara and players that are now. Yes, Alvin Kamara did suffer injury last year, but Christian McCaffrey has had a history of injury at this point. So, but yeah, when healthy, man, Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running. He's arguably the best running back, and what Alvin Kamara does, outside of maybe the elusiveness, Christian McCaffrey does times 2. His ability to catch the ball, runs after catch. He's stronger, in my opinion, than Alvin Kamara. It's just he needs to stay on the field. So I have Christian McCaffrey at number 4 solely because, well, not solely, but one, because of what he does when he's on the field, and because he struggles to stay on the field. Number 3, I have Nick Chubb. You see, the thing about Nick Chubb is he is the definition of a low-maintenance star. There is an argument to say that Nick Chubb can be the best, or there's an argument that you can have to say that Nick Chubb is the best wide or running back in the league. But he doesn't get, he's not flashy. He doesn't have, he's not the most interviewed star. He's not the most talked about star because he's just, put my hard hat on, go to work, go home. But Nick Chubb is probably one of the strongest running backs in the league, probably one of the fastest, probably one of the most elusive. Probably his ability to break tackles is almost second to none in the league, almost second to none. Nick Chubb, bro. If Nick Chubb is your starting running back, you are in good hands. That's how good Nick Chubb is, man. And one of the biggest reasons why the Browns was able to get off, or was okay with getting off of Baker Mayfield, especially when they knew that their new quarterback, Deshaun Watson, is going to miss time, just don't know how much, is because you have arguably the best running back in the league in Nick Chubb. And again, I just feel if he was more outward, if he was more, I don't know, if he talked more, if he did more stuff, or if he was more outwardly with it, then I think that he would be more revered as one of the best, even though he gets the respect that he deserves. So I have Nick Chubb at number 3. Number 2, I have Jonathan Taylor. I'm not going to disrespect what I saw last year. Last year, there was a good period of time when people thought Jonathan Taylor could win the MVP. That he was so important for the Colts, especially with their quarterback and the inconsistency that he had. Jonathan Taylor, there was nothing that Jonathan Taylor couldn't do last year, and he was, man. Again, I'm not gonna disrespect what Jonathan Taylor did last year. Jonathan Taylor is great, and I don't. Yes, he does play behind a good offensive line, but it's still like he does everything, and I think he's. There's not much bad I can say about Jonathan Taylor. The only thing is there are games where he kind of disappears, but that's very far and few between. Like, he doesn't do that a lot, but when he is on, and he's one of the best running backs in the league. I have him at number 2. And number 1, I have Derrick Henry. Now, I know that you can say, well, Jalen, he missed most of the year last year with like a broken toe. And that's very true. But even with him missing majority of the year, he finished top 5 I think he finished top 10 in rushing with missing majority of the year. He was on pace, I believe. He was on pace to be a 3,000-yard rusher. Derrick Henry, when you go to Madden, when you go to any football game and create a player, running back that is huge, running back that is fast, running back that is elusive, running back that can break tackles easily, you build Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, he's one of those players where he doesn't look that fast. I've seen Derrick Henry play once. I've seen Derrick Henry play once. He doesn't seem like he's that fast until you see him live. I'm like, Jesus, he is quick. Like, he is Derrick Henry, bro. If it wasn't for his injury last year, I believe it was 3,000 yards. I think he would have made it to that 3,000 yard mark. That's just how good Derrick Henry is, and I have him at number 1. So number 10, Austin Eckler. Number 9, Naji Harris. Number 8, Joe Mixon. Number 7, Aaron Jones. Number 6, Dalvin Cook. Number 5, Alvin Kamara. Number 4, Christian McCaffrey. Number 3, Nick Chubb. Number 2, Jonathan Taylor. And number 1, Derrick Henry. That was my top 10 running backs. Probably next episode I'll do wide receivers. Let me know who you think should. I understand. I already know what's going to happen. People are going to say, what about Ezekiel Elliott? Why is Ezekiel Elliott not in your top 10? Bro, have you seen Ezekiel Elliott the last few years? I'll just leave it at that. So, leave in the comments. Let me know how you feel. Bada bing, bada boom. Ooh, it's about to get real. It's about to get real regional in a second. So, NHL Free Agency is here. And no, I say this every time. I'm not the biggest NHL watcher, but I do watch big. I watch the Stanley Cup. I watch the playoffs. I watch big games. I am very invested in my Capitals. And of course, free agency is happening. There's been some big names. Johnny Guerrero, whatever. Johnny something went to the Columbus. I think that was the big move. And, of course, the Capitals, they got Darcy Kemper and they got Dylan Strom. I think it was a good move, especially, Kemper coming off of, he was on the Colorado Avalanche and they just came off winning a Stanley Cup. I do think it was a good move. I mean, what you're seeing now, he is, I think, 32. What you're seeing is the Capitals are trying one last hurrah. Not saying that they're going to be, bad or great, but TJ Oshie's not getting any younger. Nick Backstrom's not getting any younger. Alex Ovechkin, the great 8, is definitely not getting any younger. So this is this is their last hurrah. When I say last hurrah, I think that they're just going to try to go for it. They're trying to. One of the biggest problems last year, outside of injury, was the goalie position, and they got better. I mean, you got a Stanley Cup winning goalie, and you have a center in Dylan Strom. I think they got a lot better there. I just don't know. I hope they win. And they're trying to go for it. Like, this is pretty much their last hurrah. So I don't know about any other NHL moves. I know the Calvary got somebody or retained somebody. I don't know. I don't know. Leave in the comments. We'll talk about it. I'll do my research. But I know the Capitals got better, and I know that they're trying to ride out the triple, the triple-headed monster in Oshie, Backstrom, and Alex Ovechkin, and they hope that they can make some noise this year. So I do like the moves. And lastly, before we go, man, unpopular topic of the day. So the Baltimore Orioles have been bad for a while. I think the last time they were good was probably the first year they got Chris Davis, maybe, because he was great, and then he just was god awful. Like, it was one season great, next season god awful. I do remember this. So they haven't been good in a while. I think the last time they made the playoffs like 2016. And while they, when you the Orioles, bro, the Orioles last year they won 19 straight. I mean, they lost 19 straight. And last year, they had their third 100-loss season. I say all that to say, this year, they're actually pretty good. This year, I think, as we're talking right now, they're 45 and 44. maybe 46-44. I know they've won 10 in a row. And while it's a small chance, I think it's like a 2% or 5% chance, they have a chance to make the playoffs. And the trade deadline's coming up. Look here. I understand the Orioles. I understand you have not been in this position in a while. And I'm not an Orioles fan. I'm a Washington Nationals fan. But let me help you, Orioles. I know this is foreign territory at this point, being this good. Now I understand it's being this good. Do what you have to do to make the playoffs. I'm not saying you're going to win a World Series. That's not happening. But make the playoffs. I know I do. The last thing I want is to see the Orioles just take a nosedive. I do not want to see that. And I don't want to see them give up key players. Yo, make the playoffs. Do what you have to do. Be buyers if you have to be buyers. I know that the Orioles are a traditionally cheap team. Yo, make the playoffs. You are riding an incredible high right now that you have not seen in a while. Do not become sellers because you don't understand how to handle this success that you're the medial amount of success that you're getting right now. Also, yes, we know that you're not winning a World Series, even if you make it to the playoffs. But there's a difference between making it to the playoffs and not. And you have been on the not side for a while. So, Orioles, if you have to be buyers, be buyers. Make the playoffs, please. And there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I appreciate you guys. If you want a Popular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve, joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Whatever you like, I got you. Just click on the link and get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to whoever you're listening. Please subscribe to whoever you're watching. I'm trying to get the algorithms going, and I need you guys' help. Please share, please like, please watch, please comment. And, I want more people to experience the Unpopular Podcast. So I appreciate you guys. And until next time, much love.